It's Serious C with the Nike T. Here to give the final thoughts on the new Slim Shady. I already know somebody's gonna make a correlation to that and be like, oh, that's the problem. You guys only see Slim Shady. You're not accepting him for who he really is. He's Marshall Mathers. Chill out, fam, alright? It was a joke. Eminem recently came out. I don't know why I'm saying recently, like it was about a week ago. It was like 2 days ago, but I'm on my 5th listen of this Revival album, and I feel like I'm prepared to give my final verdict and my final thoughts. Just to let you know, the score has not changed since the initial video, so that's some good news. Second of all, Revival just came out Friday. How we feeling about it? I know the consensus on this album is that it's either horrible or some people love it. I think I've seen more people have their issues with it than people who are enjoying it. So let me preface this by saying I am a huge Eminem fan. In Detroit, there were certain artists that you could not avoid when you were coming up. There were a couple artists that you just could not get away from, and those artists included Royce da 5'9", Proof, Eminem, BB and CC Winans, Doughboy Cash Out. A couple of people that you just had to know. You know, if you didn't know these people, you couldn't live there. So Eminem was a given. I had to be a fan of him when I was younger. Feeling so deeply connected to his career, regularly visiting 8 Mile, I felt like there was a connection between his music and I. So by default, I was a supporter of this guy because he came from a city that literally gave you no tools to come up in. That is the first and only time I'm going to say that I'm a fan of Eminem in this video, because everything else I'm going to say is at least justifiable to me. Eminem with Revival shows us that he's losing his motivation to make music. And I'm not saying that he's incapable of making good music anymore. I'm saying that his motivation for making the music now is different from what it used to be. Of course, I'm not saying Eminem should remain this 20-something troubled youth who's rebellious and intentionally offensive. But back then, a character like Slim Shady was essential to the rap game because they didn't already exist. It feels like with Revival, 2017 Eminem is consciously looking for something to rap about, and as opposed to just being artistically motivated to do it on his own. And you can tell by how forced some of the songs are. Like, I didn't or tried to see the good in a song like Untouchable, but I can admit that the song seems very forced. And for the people out there that were telling me that this isn't a political album and that he wasn't trying to make a political statement, I can accept that. That's fine. We can agree on that. I don't have to debate with you on that because that might be true. However, that makes me enjoy the album even less, and it helps my point even more that he's scatterbrained all over this project. He doesn't have a target. He doesn't have a specific person or goal or anything he's trying to accomplish with this album. That makes me enjoy the album even less. Another common criticism I've seen that people use to deflect criticism of Eminem's Revival album is, oh, you guys just can't accept the fact that Eminem's getting old now. You can't accept the fact that he's growing up, he's maturing. I don't agree with that because there are still moments on this album where he shows his immature side. I'm not saying that you can't have fun, you can't joke around, but don't have your fan base, and I'm not saying this is Eminem's fault, but just speaking like, you know, without any context here, don't have your fan base speak on your behalf and say, oh, it's because he's getting older. He's more mature now. He's got deeper concepts. He's coming at you from a different angle. When this is the same dude that says your booty is heavy duty like diarrhea, makes references to grabbing women by the vagina, and what seems to be a reference to his old Slim Shady days on Framed, where he either raps from multiple perspectives from a mentally demented point of view, or he's fetishizing killing people again. Whichever it is, Eminem is still immature in a lot of ways, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I like immature Eminem, but you can't give him that pass on certain songs and then say, oh, well, the rest of the album is just as mature. There are moments where he shows that he's just not grown up, and that's fine. Now, no one's coming at Eminem's lyricism on this project. It's still there. It's still where it should be. Eminem is still a wordsmith. He is still a lyrical genius. No one's debating that. But the fan base already knows you can rap. I think Eminem is the biggest example of not being able to make good rap music, but still being a good rapper. There are very few artists in the industry that have both of those, okay? You might get it from a Kendrick. People recently have been saying you might get it from a Cole. Some people speculate you might get it from like Joey Badass. Whoever you think you can get it from, there is a fine line between being a good rapper and making good rap music. And Eminem is on the side or the spectrum of being a good rapper, but not having any replayability, not having any catchiness, and overall not having an enjoyable listening experience. The songs that he does well on this project are the ones where he is rapping, where he's on beat, where he's taking it or sticking to the concept or the context of the song, and he's showing himself on these tracks that are good, like Offended, like Framed, in my opinion, even though the hook is ridiculous and it's a little annoying. I think that the point of it is so that I don't think it was supposed to be an enjoyable song. I mean, if it's coming from a demented point of view, I don't mind the song having a really whacked out hook that doesn't really have any catchiness to it, because in my opinion, it fits with the concept of that song specifically. Tracks like Believe, where it's a strong second to the opener on this album. In the final 3 tracks, he gives in-depth information about his relationship with his daughter, rapping and giving the perspective of each time in her life and how his addiction at the time could have taken him out, and that would have been a horrible thing. These songs on this project give you a nice perspective of a 45-year-old Eminem. They give you a nice perspective as to how creative he can be and how intriguing he can be, you know, how interesting he could be. But they're so few and far between that when you get to the dirt on this album, it takes a lot of time to get to the diamond. I say that Eminem isn't motivated on this project or has no real reason to make a project like this, because unlike back then when he had a reason to make Infinite because he was just coming into the rap game, when he had a reason to make a Slim Shady LP to let the world know he wasn't just coming with the same overused ideas that rap was already used to, the same ideas that made his predecessors so great, and he could still be this lyrical nut job, when he had a reason to make a Marshall Mathers LP to inform the world of how he really thinks and feels, and to form a direct distinction or line between the character Slim Shady that he'd created. On Revival, M just seems to have no artistic vision or reason to have made the album. One of the things that kept Eminem on top and moving was the fact that he was coming at issues both politically and socially in the peak of his career that no one else was really talking about, at least as a rapper. Generally, when Eminem would say something, it was kind of off the wall and shocked people because no one was talking about it already. Here, everyone's been talking about these things. Trump didn't just get elected. Bill Cosby didn't just start touching people. So his line on Offended about still copping a feel like Bill Cosby, like, it doesn't make sense, okay? I get it, but it's nowhere near as funny because it's not fresh, okay? You're getting to the party late. Everyone gave him a pass on the BET freestyle because he was the first artist in his position to say something about it and it actually means something, so people appreciated it. Now that you're constantly doing it or referencing Trump or Ivanka or any of the Trump family members in your album, it just comes across as corny. We don't need you to kill your first message by constantly going over it again. Like, we get it, you don't like Trump, but it's like Eminem thinks because he dislikes a president or dislikes a guy, that's a justification or enough reason for him to be impeached. He's not providing any facts. He's not providing any discrepancies with Trump as a president. He's not saying that what Trump is doing in this aspect is illegal, or he's allowing people to get away with things that constitutionally just are not right. He's coming at Donald Trump with an opinion and saying this is why he should be impeached, and that's just not mature. He seems a lot more stiff, a lot more tight on this project, not in a good way. Some of the bars can be described as just casually bad dad rap, and it makes me feel like 2000 Eminem would be dissing 2017 Eminem. Like, he's one of the people he would be chastising back then. It's cool to evolve and to grow. We welcome that. We appreciate that. We understand that that's going to come from every single artist, but age like wine, not milk. The features on this project, as I said, perform very well and appear just how we thought they'd be from the appearance of the track list. But when you throw Eminem on the exact same track, it makes it feel like you're trying to jam the shape of a circle into the shape of a triangle. The features, strangely enough, perform just as good or just as well as you would expect them to for the type of music that we're getting, but Eminem comes through with these ideas that he did with Recovery, that he did with Relapse, that he's done with Pink, that he's done with Rihanna, that he's done with other artists like Skylar Grey. These songs aren't making any strong statements, they just seem like rehashed ideas just to verify or make sure that at the end of the day, if he did have some kind of artistic vision with this project, that it doesn't fall through and that he needs the pop features to keep it afloat. Get Rick Rubin out of here. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. Getting back to the Chloroseptic track, I feel like Eminem's fan base has a very unhealthy perception of the intention of his songs. Like, Chloroseptic is a song after multiple listens that you're able to deduce means that he is kind of poking fun at the rap game. Okay, I get it. But I think because people feel like you're coming at a target that everyone else accepts as bad, that every statement in regards to that target is going to be justified, when in reality you have to make your reason for making a diss or making an attack on this easy target known. Eminem doesn't really do that on that song. It's just boring, and he keeps talking to the point where it gets cringy. I get that you could be parodying other rappers' style and you can be mixing up the mumble rap flow, but I've seen artists do this in much more witty ways. Like I said, Eminem with this whole idea and most of these concepts, just ideas that are late or handed in after the assignment was already due. I don't know, that age thing is really still getting to me, because he spends half of the album apologizing just for being bad or just for doing things in his life that, yes, okay, I get it, you got regrets. I don't need a whole song about it. I mean, we're in 2017 and Eminem's still rapping about Kim. We're in 2017 and he's making a remix or a remake of Love the Way You Lie. And while you can say based off the album cover that Eminem is disappointed in the state of America, thematically the album doesn't run that message home, so what's the point of it? I could go on and on about the corny bars on here, but they're not okay, there's a lot. But there's some decent lines on here too, like how you make a song like Walk on Water featuring Beyonce, how you make a song like that and then literally talk about how you were paying attention to criticism and then negate all of that criticism by coming out with half the songs you came out with on this project. Like, it's like he saw the criticism and then doubled down on it. Said, hey, I don't care. I'm gonna make a bad album again if I want to. Who cares? It's like openly telling everyone in the class that you have the answers for your test and then still failing it. As I've said before in regards to the beats, they're nothing special. Dr. Dre, I believe, only executive produced one song. Unfortunately, the chemistry between Dre and Eminem was so strong that now that he's not there as much, you can see kind of where he's lacking. Eminem on Revival to me is just stuck in an artistic rut. He's stuck in 2007, 2008, 2009, where the music that he would have been releasing now would have probably fit for a time back then. But now we're in 2017 where we have multiple artists talking politics, multiple artists talking abuse, multiple artists talking about the situations that Eminem is talking about, and they're doing it in much more creative, much more witty, much more dynamic, and much more powerful ways. Before you get out of this final thoughts video, ask yourself this. If you had no idea who Eminem was, if you had no recollection of anything he released in the past, is this an album that you'd actually listen to? Disconnecting it from his discography, disconnecting it from him as a person and anything that he's rapped so far, would you still be a fan of this body of work had you not known who Eminem was already? But other than that, this album is essentially the equivalent of putting your finger in your belly button and then smelling it. Did you try it? Yes, it's not that great, is it? It's been Shawn C, Nike T. I'll see you next time. Feel free to discuss your opinions in the comment section down below. I love to hear what you think about it. But as for me, it's a no doubt. I'm out. Thanks for watching. Peace.